Hi, it's Carl Brower, and I'm standing next to the all-new, redesigned 2026 Honda Passport. Now, as in years past, the Honda Passport is basically a shorter Honda Pilot. This sits on the same platform as Honda's big three-row family vehicle, but it's got a shorter wheelbase, it doesn't have a third-row seat, and as we know with so many car companies these days, they can slice that SUV onion pretty thin and still sell lots of them. And Honda's recognized that several years ago. In fact, the previous generation for this car was 2019 through 2025. Same philosophy. What they're doing now, though, is they're starting to cash in more or target more the off-road capabilities of this vehicle. And they're using things like the Trailsport trim, because that Trailsport off-road oriented nature and off-road wheels, they know that that pulls in that many more customers. Now, this is still a unibody. It's not a body on frame like the 4Runner, so it's really not as serious of an off-road vehicle as some of the other competitors in this category. But Honda has done things to make the Trailsport at least viable for moderate off-roading. And we're going to talk more about that and some of the other changes for 2026. Let's dive in. As part of the redesign, you can tell that Honda's given the Passport more distinctive bodywork. It feels a little more rugged, a little more edgy. The front grille is more upright. I think it's a little larger. And you've also got standard LED headlights and taillights. One of the changes for the 2026 Passport is that the overall length is now 191.5 inches, or 2.5 inches longer than the previous version. And the wheelbase is 113.6 inches, or 2.7 inches longer than the previous Passport's wheelbase. Both of those mean increased interior space, more room for both people and cargo, especially because the track has also been widened. The vehicle is definitely larger both on the outside and on the inside. That adds to more cargo space. It's got more space behind the second row seat, and when you go to the back, you see also those standard LED taillights, as well as a new tailgate and bumper assembly. That 2.7 inches of wheelbase extension we discussed, well, that means more interior space, specifically rear seat legroom, 40.5 inches. That's up a chunk from last year. I believe it was around 36, 37 inches that you got out of this vehicle. So you've got like 4 more inches of rear seat legroom, and you can see it reflected here. This front seat is adjusted for my 6-foot frame, and here I am sitting behind myself in the front, and plenty of space. The 3.5-liter V6 engine under the hood of the Passport sounds familiar. Honda's been using that engine for years in a lot of different models, but it's actually changed. It's been updated substantially for 2026. For instance, it doesn't have variable valve timing technology anymore, no more VTEC. It makes 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, which is more than it made previously, and that's good because the car also weighs substantially more. It weighs between 4,500 and 4,700 pounds, depending on which trim you get, versus around 4,200 to 4,300 pounds for the previous generation. Now that's impacting both its acceleration and its fuel efficiency. This one's ratings are 19 in the city, 25 on the highway, 21 mixed, unless you get the Trailsport version like I'm standing next to. The off-road tires and the additional weight, skid plates, these things make this one get 18 in the city, 23 on the highway, and 20 mixed MPG. Those aren't great numbers, and I do feel like that kind of weight gain is going to penalize the vehicle in both acceleration and fuel efficiency. When I'm driving this vehicle, I really need to keep it in sport mode, or throttle response is just too lackadaisical for me. The car just won't accelerate the way I'd like it to unless I put it in sport mode. The 3.5-liter V6 engine is attached to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and it'll get the Passport up to 60 miles an hour in about 7.5 seconds. It also uses Honda's iVTM4 torque vectoring system. That's how it distributes the power to all 4 wheels, and it's pretty amazing. It can deliver up to 70% of torque to the rear axle, and it can deliver up to 100% of torque to either the left or right side. There was something called super handling all-wheel drive that's been around for years on the Acura brand, and that's basically the same idea here. A lot of variability in where this power can go, and because you have an off-road vehicle with different settings like trail and snow and mud, it will take advantage of that. It'll use whatever driver setting you've put it in and send that torque to the individual wheels matched for the kind of use and the setting that you've got it in. Another benefit of the new Passport's larger dimensions is increased cargo capacity. The previous generation had around 39 cubic feet of space behind the second row seat. This one's got 44, so it's gained about 5 cubic feet of storage capacity behind the second row. And now if you fold that 60-40 split seat down in the second row, you get 84 cubic feet of cargo capacity behind the front row. You can definitely use this vehicle to carry a lot of items. And there's some cool storage options too, like this underfloor storage where the smaller spare tire sits, but also another pocket over here where you could store plenty of things and kind of keep them hidden. Honda's also incorporated this new feature on the Passport where you can walk away and the power hatch will close automatically. You simply hit this button here, and if you've picked up a bunch of items and they're filling your hands and it's not easy for you to hit the close button, you simply walk away and it knows to close on its own. Just like the exterior, the interior on the 2026 Honda Passport is redone with updated controls and layout. You've got a 10.2-inch digital gauge cluster, and you've got a 12.3-inch central touchscreen over here. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and Google Maps and Google Assistant are now included. So it's pretty cool when it's got the Google integration. That opens up things for a lot of people who are Android based. That's nice. It's also got, in this trim level, this cool kind of brown chocolate leather with contrasting orange stitching throughout the steering wheel and on the seats. It goes well with the orange kind of theme that the Trailsport has. And of course, this particular Trailsport is painted orange on the outside, so it feels very cohesive. But you will get leather on pretty much anything at EXL and above in terms of the trim levels for this vehicle. You've also got a wireless charging pad here. You've got steering wheel controls, and you can easily change the different settings that you're seeing on the dash here. You can even have navigation in the gauge cluster, which is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of course, dedicated controls for things like climate. Honda's always had really good kind of haptic feedback, you know, the feeling of clickiness and tension when you turn knobs and push buttons. Honda's always been good, whether you're working on the cooling and heated seats or changing the temperature and fan speed. So dedicated controls. We don't have to go into the touchscreen for climate. We like that. We've got some pretty large cup holders here. I think they've been put in a new location slightly. And you can remember that Honda has this kind of weird, in my opinion, but effective transmission controls. There's no stock anymore. There's these buttons for park and drive and neutral and reverse. Reverse is actually this kind of reverse button that you push backwards. And then the drive mode control here, you can actually change through the different drive modes: sport, normal, econ, snow. And when you're in the Trailsport like this, you get a couple extra ones like the trail and the sand settings. And I believe the center console is now larger this year too, so there's more space to store things. Honda's got a long history of producing very good ergonomics, very effective and intuitive ergonomics, and this year in the brand new Honda Passport, all that remains true. You've even got the dedicated volume knob, which we like. There's been some foolish car companies, including Honda once upon a time, that tried to remove this and turn it into buttons, but we like a dedicated volume knob. Nothing works better. Second row passengers also get their own dedicated climate control unit here on the back of the console. You only get one zone, it's not dual zone, so both passengers have to agree on the same temp, but each side gets its own heated seat controls, which is pretty fancy. You've also got dual USB-C ports and an AC outlet with 110 volts right down here. Pricing for the all-new Honda Passport starts at about $46,000 for the base RTL trim and goes up to about $55,000 for the Trailsport Elite Blackout trim. And if you want fancy things like heated and cooled front seats and the 12-speaker Bose audio system, you have to go for one of those Elite trims. But even that base RTL trim comes with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, plus the Google-based software system and the full suite of Honda safety and driver assist technology. Things like smart cruise control and lane keeping assist. Let's talk about some of the features you get with the Trailsport version of the new Honda Passport. Some of the obvious ones include these really cool orange dual tow hooks in the front, these 18-inch wheels with aggressive off-road tires, these wheel well covers or claddings that look more rugged and ready to be beat up by bushes. You've got this fake intake in the hood up here, and you do get these amber surrounds on the headlights. Only on the Trailsport, none of the other versions have that. Things that you can't see but are also included are skid plates to protect both the oil pan and the fuel tank. This vehicle has 8.3 inches of ground clearance, which is a little more than the 8.1 inches of last year's and the previous generation's Trailsport. But all of them this year have 8.3 inches, even the non-Trailsport versions. That's not bad ground clearance, but we know that some of the other cars out there that this might compete with, like a TRD Pro or Trail Hunter 4Runner, that has 10.1 inches of ground clearance. Trailsport also includes these exterior cameras, making it easier to see what's in front of you and behind you when you are off-roading. After a few days driving this all-new Passport, I'm pretty impressed overall. I can tell what Honda's going for here. They made it larger, they made it even more comfortable inside, they've got great ergonomics, and even with these off-road tires, this one is not very noisy at freeway speeds. I think the steering feel is trademark Honda. That means excellent, especially in the era of electric assist steering. And all these controls are just very intuitive and easy to use with great feedback as you're doing things like twisting the dedicated climate controls or interacting with this large touchscreen. I think maybe the only thing I've not been 100% satisfied is with power delivery. This car did gain weight on this redesign, and unless I put it in sport mode, I just feel like throttle response isn't quite what I'd like. I could see this totally serving as a family vehicle primarily for people who don't need more than 5 seats, and still going off-road on occasion and not really suffering a penalty for its off-road capability for the overwhelming majority of the time when you're using it on-road. The new Honda Passport is more powerful, more refined, and offers more interior space. And it's even more off-road capable, but it's not going to compete with something like the TRD Pro or the Trail Hunter versions of Toyota's 4Runner. Those things are really meant for aggressive off-road use. This is meant for semi-aggressive. But if what you're wanting is semi-aggressive off-road use and plenty of comfort, space, and refinement on-road, I would argue the newest Honda Passport manages those dual roles better than anything else in its class.